Coming up, Pence stops in Iowa one last time before Election Day.
And later, Hawkeye football is returning to Kinnick Stadium this weekend.
Welcome to DITV Now, your flash update on all the biggest headlines coming out of the Daily Iowa newsroom. I'm your host, Shivansh Ahuja.
And I'm Kate Overton.
Vice President Mike Pence held a rally at Des Moines International Airport on Thursday. This visit will be the last time the VP will be in Iowa before Election Day on Tuesday. First, Pence cited President Trump's accomplishments, like cutting taxes for the working class and increasing veteran health spending, as reasons to re-elect the president.
But in 3 short years, we rebuilt our military. We revived our economy. We secured our border, supported law enforcement, and stood for life, liberty, and the Constitution of the United States of America.
Then, Pence attacked Biden's tax plan. He said that Biden was going to raise taxes during the COVID-19 pandemic.
I think it's a choice between a Trump booming economy and a Biden depression.
He also praised President Trump's COVID-19 response despite more than 30,000 Iowans contracting COVID-19 this October. Multiple members of Pence's inner circle also tested positive earlier this week. His staff will continue campaigning despite the risk.
Valiska is home to Thrillist scariest place in Iowa, the Valiska Axe Murder House. DITV News Director Bailey Chehan checked it out to see if the title was just hype.
At the end of this quiet residential street sits a little white farmhouse. It's a piece of history, but some say this house was left haunted from a crime committed over 100 years ago.
I'm standing on the front steps of the Valiska Axe Murder House in Valiska, Iowa. This is the house where a family was murdered in 1912. The house has since gained recognition for its paranormal activity and has become a popular tourist attraction.
The 6-piece family of Josiah Moore, 12-year-old Lena Stillinger, and 8-year-old Ina Stillinger were found bludgeoned to death. To this day, the case remains unsolved, but paranormal enthusiasts can pay to stay overnight to solve the mystery.
I mean, everybody's an amateur paranormal investigator. Everybody's the best investigator, and so that's what brings people to Valiska.
A group of Daily Iowan editors and directors spent the night at the house in September. Before the sun went down, one editor heard footsteps behind her.
So I looked, and there's no one there, but it felt like there was someone there.
After the sun went down, voices could be heard throughout the house.
And then I heard another whisper behind me that I thought was Maddie and Brooklyn continuing to talk. So I turned back over, and they both still had their eyes shut and were not talking to me.
Whether the house is haunted or not is up to you, but those close to the house say the paranormal activity may not be coming from the Moore family.
Was something here before this happened? Like, are there certain spots in this world that are just bad?
The Daily Iowan staff did not find any conclusive evidence as to whether the house was haunted or not.
Reporting from Valiska, Iowa, Bailey Chehan, Daily Iowan TV.
A lot has changed since the 19th Amendment was passed 100 years ago. DITV reporter Elizabeth Neruda has more on how the U Iowa museums are commemorating the amendment.
It's been 100 years since the 19th Amendment was passed that allowed women to vote. The UI Pentecost Museums brought together academics, activists, and politicians to discuss how much has changed and reflect on the progress of the women's movement in a discussion called Hard Won, Not Done.
This was an opportunity to bring multiple generations to the table to talk about a common topic that everybody has been impacted by over generations.
With such a contentious election coming up in less than a week that comes after 4 years of fighting for women's equality with efforts like the Me Too movement and the Women's March, it was important for the panelists to share the work that still needs to be done in the fight for equality, as well as what keeps them optimistic.
For so long, women of color have sat on the sidelines. They have been behind the scenes, and when we talked about women's rights, it was, yes, women in general, but it was just as white women, really.
Some of the panelists felt it was time for older generations to step aside in these movements and let younger people take the reins.
We need to sister our sisters.
Even though the museums are still closed for now, you can still go through exhibits like this one about the 19th Amendment virtually, and students can still get internships through the Pentecost Museums program. Reporting from the University of Iowa, I'm Elizabeth Neruda, DITV News.
The Hawkeyes are returning to the nest this weekend with a home game against Northwestern. Northwestern has won 3 out of the last 5 games against the Hawkeyes, and both teams are fighting for the top of the conference. Iowa quarterback Spencer Petras looked a little shaky in his first start as a Hawkeye, but with the shortened season, he knows they've got to move on.
Only 8+1 this season. Every game is extremely important. So the sense of urgency has been there from the beginning. And any Big Ten game, it's an important game. Obviously, with the way our the standings work and that kind of thing, we need to play our best on Saturday.
On the offensive side of the ball, the team looked good, but it was the little things like penalties that hurt them. Senior transfer Coy Cronk gave his thoughts on the offensive line's play.
I thought we were moving the line of scrimmage well. Obviously, a couple plays didn't go our way. The effort, enthusiasm, and the 1-2 and the finish was there. We just got to keep building on that.
Offensively, the Hawks need to clean up their ball protection. Iowa had 2 costly fumbles when they were looking to score the ball, and if the Hawkeyes can fix these issues, they might be 1-1 after the weekend. Tune in Monday for our post-game recap.
Daylight savings time is this weekend, and luckily that means an extra hour of cool fall weather for us in Iowa City. Today we'll see a high of 49 and a low of 36. This weekend we'll see highs around the 50s and lows around 30. Sounds like you'll need a coat over your costume this Halloween.
Thank you for tuning in to DITV Now.
We'll be back next week with the latest from the University of Iowa, Iowa City, and Hawkeye Nation. From Iowa City, I'm Shivan Chahuja.
And I'm Kate Overton. Stay safe and have a great weekend.